Okay, at 6:30, we'll call this meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm gonna do that motion to suspend Massachusetts order.
Make a motion to suspend Robert's Rules of Order to change the agenda. And adjust it so that our superintendent can speak before the public hearing.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Push the button. Thank you very much for adjusting your meeting for me. I'm going to head over to Minot after this so I can chat with their council as well. I just wanted to take a moment, come and introduce myself now that I've got a couple months under my belt here in the district. And let you know that I'm here to work with you as we go through the process, especially budget tends to be the big one that the towns want to be involved in. In my previous district, I did go to each council meeting and present the budget. If that's something this group would like me to continue to do, I certainly will do that here and answer any questions that you might have about how the budget was developed or specific aspects of the budget. At any time, you can reach out to my office if you have any questions. We meet monthly. I think we're going to start that up again to meet monthly. So if you ever have any questions, you can certainly send it through Vic and he can bring them to me and I can get you the answers. But I really just wanted to come, let you see a face to go with the name, and just let you know that I'm here to work collaboratively with you and do the best that we can to educate the students in our communities. So
Well, thank you.
if you have no questions, thank you. And again, I appreciate you making an adjustment so that I could do this and now go do the same thing over in Minot. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along into the public hearings. Liquor license renewal, American Legion 150.
Yeah, so public hearing. So I don't know if you want to just do that, if anybody has anything to say.
Okay, if anyone in the public has anything to say or online about the renewing the American Legion 150 liquor license. You have all the forms signed by fire and police. Okay. All right, well, we have no comments from the public. We'll close that public hearing. Moving on to the Eclipse cannabis license renewal. If anyone has any comments, questions, we also have that. Is he opening for business or is he still not open for business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's that located?
Pigeon Hill,
Bottom
where the old
Pigeon Hill.
chipmunk storage.
Like
used
across
to be.
from Hannaford.
Got it. Thank you.
With no comments, we will close that public hearing and open it for general assistance maximums. Do you have that information?
Yeah, I'll set the
Okay,
table on this one. So each year, the council is asked to approve the new updated state maximums when it comes to general assistance. We have the general assistance ordinance in place. And so for municipalities that have the ordinance already in place, they send out once a year at the state level updated maximum amounts for based on persons per household, heating, electricity, several categories. That information is a part of your packet. And the municipalities can also discard that and do something that's higher, but you can't do anything that's less. And so most municipalities do just approve the current maximums that are good for a year. This, if approved tonight, will be functional as of October 1st, yesterday, through September of 2024.
We have a motion.
We're not just in the public hearing.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I moved.
No, you're good.
Yeah, we got to
Okay.
do the ordinance codification.
That's why there's more than one of us.
So if
Does
nobody
anyone
has
have any?
questions?
Well, I was looking, is it still, is it $10,000 our budget for it? Is that, or what is the,
In the current budget, I believe is for FY 24, I believe the figure is $7,500.
oh, okay.
And we've chewed in close to a couple thousand of that already. We had a cremation that we had to help out with. And then a couple of other things.
Okay. Right, well, if no comments from the public. We will close that public hearing. Moving on to 6.4 ordinance codification document.
So this is going to be a shared responsibility with y'all, me and Ryan. So for my part of this, when I first was walking through the door, you guys, I think that night approved to do a contract with a company called General Code to put together a document of all of the town's ordinances and through a process that we lovingly know as codification. Well, it's taken 2 years to get it to where that document that's on the table there, that green book, is the result of the past 2 years' homework with General Code. And it's from my perspective, they have gone through all of the town's ordinances. There's the town charters even in there. And they have updated based on comparison to state statutes. And as I was explaining to Paula earlier, you'll see in the packet that I sent out as a part of your packet, the detailed strike throughs and changes. Some of the strike throughs are like amounts that we're charging that we need to charge a different amount for. Others are wording changes. So based on Gen Code's due diligence, this is the document that they have produced. And it should also be stated, where's Ryan? It should also be stated that General Code has worked extensively with myself and Ryan in particular. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that I gave the bulk of this project to Ryan. I'll turn it over to Ryan at this point do you have any comments?
In general, are we gonna go over this later too during the motion, or are we doing the motion now?
No, the
Okay.
motion will come in the next section. This is just information. This is just information. So if you have information to impart, I would say do it now.
Okay. So if I could I'd like to go through this and just summarize what you're seeing so that you can just see the type of topics that they address during codification and what you're approving tonight. So the code adoption ordinance here, it looks like this. Essentially, if you go to the second page, we repealed 2 ordinances, which is the plumbing and septic system permit fees ordinance from 1993 that had expired permit fees saying like, $6 a fixture. Well, the state sets those fees and they're $10 a fixture now. So we are repealing that because it's redundant and it's actually outdated. So there's no need for it. And then the emergency disconnect ordinance says in the ordinance that it expires once the code changes, and the code has changed. The latest electrical code was adopted by the state. But essentially, as you go through here, so like through the 4th, 5th page, you'll see preliminary schedule A, looks like this. And that shows all the changes we made line by line. And the explanations are not there, but essentially it was matched with state statute. So I don't want to bring you through every single one of these, but the big one for the planning board here, as you go through, you'll see like chapter 200, zoning and land use, and it shows just all of the grammar it corrected, the state statute references it corrected. Some spots it said septic permit, other spots it said subsurface waste disposal permit. So it just made all the language consistent throughout all the documents. So there's nothing of substance that was changed per se. It's just, again, the grammar and the statute references, and they list them all there. There are a lot of other spots in here, but that's essentially what you're going to be approving today. And we've been working with Gen Code and our legal team to make sure it's all right. So if you have any specific questions about it, yeah.
Now, like, we're talking about chapter 7 alcoholic beverages,
Mhm.
inspections. They've got a whole thing written up there's strikeouts, but then there's underlined. What's the difference between a strikeout and an underline?
Yeah, so a strikeout's what they're removing and an underline's what they're adding. So instead of saying an inspection may be made of the applicant's premises and or merchandise, it's striking that and it's adding, instead of saying that, saying an inspection may be made of the premises and or the merchandise of the applicant for a liquor license or permit. So it's striking the word applicants, adding the rest of it to be more specific.
And then with like the very first page, code adopted, existing ordinances continued. It has a whole paragraph, 1-1 code adopted, existing ordinance continued. Is that something that they've recommended we add to our code or to our ordinance section?
Essentially, when we adopt this, we're saying that all the existing ordinances are still in effect. So essentially, when you adopt a whole new ordinance, it's a code adoption ordinance. So essentially what you're doing today is an ordinance. It's saying that all these will still remain in effect and immediately upon expiration. So this will take 30 days to take effect. Essentially the 29th day, all the current ones are into effect, and the 30th day, this comes into effect. So it's just, that's really what it's saying, is we're essentially adopting a whole new ordinance. But it's going to be one. So before you had the land use ordinance, Article 1, Section 2, right? And then you had, for example, the liquor license was a different ordinance, and it said Article 1, Section 2. Well, now the alcoholic beverages is Chapter 7 of our ordinance. The zoning and land use is Chapter 200. It's essentially one big ordinance, but split into subsections. And this way is a lot better, because before you had to go to this page of the website to get this ordinance, this page to get this one. Some were just kept here in the town office and you had to come here and request a copy. This puts them all in one document. So essentially you're adopting one document for all of our ordinances. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a convoluted topic.
Now on chapter 23,
Sure.
section 23-1A. Did it strike membership on the town council must be a resident only per the charter? If they become non-residents, they would have to resign. Is there a particular reason why that was struck?
Well, it's like the same thing as the sentence before it, saying that you have to be
Well,
reside in the town.
but the sentence before it talks about the planning board and the appeals board.
I believe that's because it's a part of the charter to begin with.
Okay, and
It's a-
that's what I assumed.
Yeah, it's a redundancy. Yeah.
But I know there's probably people thinking these questions and not asking them.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so that's a part of this. So we talked about redundancy at our last meeting, and they look across these, because if you change the reference, for example, in chapter 23, who's to say that the charter was changed? Or if you change the charter, who's to say this was changed? So they just kind of, why repeat the same rule across multiple ordinances? That's essentially the thought process.
And did they give you a justification for why they struck the MRSA references? I noticed they did that a lot through all of this.
You'd have to give me a specific one.
If you go to 117, I think it was 117. Or I'm sorry, no. Chapter 82, general assistance. As you go through every place, there's pretty much every place that in the second page, that there's an MRSA denoted, they've struck through it.
Yeah, it's probably because that state statute no longer exists. In some instances, it's because it doesn't exist anymore. And so, for example, if you look in 82 under general assistance, it'll actually cross out one but leave the other one. And that's because one is probably invalid now. They repeal these constantly and create new ones or consolidate them. So that's what you're seeing here. It's a complete update. They review every statute reference we have to make sure it's completely up to date. And you'll see in other areas where they actually correct the statutes and maybe we worded it incorrectly. And yeah.
So I would also add, especially to the folks here, because I think the rest of you kind of know this. So now that we have this document, what we're asking the council to do tonight is to essentially approve the document that has all of these specific changes that are being talked about now, all the minutia. And so for me, the net result of 2 years worth of work is creating in one book stuff that's been all over the place. So it's really collating it into one document and moving forward as part of a maintenance program twice a year, because we're going to be adding ordinances. We may be detracting from other ordinances because life is fluid. So life is going to continue to happen. So Ryan and I, but mostly Ryan, will be working with the Gen Code folks and giving them whatever updates, like we're going to be working on the LD 2003. And so that will be a document once we're through this that Ryan will give to the Gen Code people, and then they will update the document. I don't know if we'll get a hard copy book once a year, but at least electronically it will be in the net goal is to have this all electronically on the website. So that way you all can geek out over it and go through it to your heart's content. But I do think it's a smart thing for the town to have done. It is very minutia heavy, right? That's what this is. And so they've painstakingly taken the 2 years to do it. And thank goodness for Ryan, because if you were asking me those questions, you'd get the deer in the headlights look. I would just say, I believe that they knew what they were doing, right? So, but the good thing is that it's fluid. We'll have updates each year moving forward.
Now, do we have to pay for those updates or are they
Yes.
part of our contract?
Oh, well, there's an ongoing, if I remember
Maintenance
right,
fee.
something like $9.95 or some such that we'll pay annually to have it updated a couple of times.
And do they automatically do this once they get our money, or do we have to point them in directions of where to look?
I don't know. Good question. We haven't experienced it yet.
I can
I would
explain
say that they've been very proactive. I don't know.
I can explain that. So how it's going to work from here on out, it actually adds another layer of security for us because essentially when you sign a document that changes an ordinance or adopts a new one, I will scan in that document and send it to them. So they will then take that and update the ordinance in the website. So I and myself and Vic actually do not have access to go in and change wording and everything else. Whereas before, essentially the land use ordinance was a document on my computer. So at any time, any code enforcement officer could have changed a couple of words and re-uploaded it, right? It adds an extra layer of security that way. They will not adopt anything until we give them a signed copy of it showing your signatures that it was adopted.
Now, will they be keeping on top of what the legislators are doing to make sure that's end of it stays up?
Part of
case
the
we miss
package is
something.
them notifying us when statutes are changing. So I don't know how they keep track of that. If they just have a database of all the statutes they referenced here, I'd imagine that's how it works. And they tell us whenever we can anticipate a change. So
And they do work with other communities. Don't ask me to list them, but
Oh, no,
Work with
I'm
us.
aware of that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
that was one of the things that pushed us that way to begin with.
Well, I have a question. What were we talking about last week and what were we disappointed about? Because didn't this find lots of redundancies? Wasn't that what we were discussing? Or no?
so the discussion last week was this is a perfect example of government with a cart and a horse in the wrong direction. True, because last week's discussion was really saying, taking a snapshot, here are your ordinances. Here are your ordinances. They're not designed for growth. If you want us to steer the boat in a different direction, then moving forward, we'll take a look at redesigning these ordinances with you all and coming up with better mousetraps. Or we can just leave everything the way that it is. Yes, in a perfect world, we would have you guys already had approved that document and then had the discussion. But life didn't work out that way. So, but both conversations are still very valid for what they are. Tonight, we're asking you to, if you so choose, to approve the document with the changes, creating that book as the baseline for ordinances for the town of Mechanic Falls moving forward. And then we're in a system. And regardless of rudders and ships or LD 2003 or whatever, we at least have a system and a mechanism for adding or subtracting moving forward.
And we know LD 2003 is going to do something to it. And we also know that our comprehensive plan, when it's modified, if the people choose to modify it, will change it as well.
Yeah, we'll be discussing that at the next planning board meeting this Wednesday, at least initial review, but right now the attorneys are reviewing our ordinances for compliance with LD 2003. So we may not have the full answer back by then, but if not, then it will be in November where we'll be making motions at the planning board level and then sending them to the council by December, hopefully, if things stay on track to change the land use ordinance. And that's the first time we'll be able to use this new service.
So I have a question. So who's going to have authority? Essentially, we're going to be getting a PDF form of this ordinance. And you won't be able to change that at that point unless you get council approval or somebody's approval that something's going to get changed. So you can't, or anybody in this office cannot change this ordinance once we approve it. It becomes locked in writing, so to speak. So it's not like a Word format where we can go in and tweak the language and everything like that. And who's going to retain ownership of that, of the Word function of that? Will this be this codification company? Or will we be able to, just go in and recommend on a certain, certain period of time where we make changes and then they'll upgrade or make changes?
Yeah, so that's a two-part answer. The first part is, well, before there was legally, no one could change the ordinance without your approval, right? But the security behind it,
There wasn't it.
there was no security, basically. This gives us that layer of security. So to your second part, yeah, whenever an ordinance comes to the council, so the council can either adopt ordinances or the planning board can recommend changes or additional ordinances, and then the council ultimately has to approve it.
So this company will be the keeper of the ordinance.
They'll be the keeper. So whenever you adopt something, essentially I go and I scan it in and I send it to this email and they automatically go in and they confirm that they changed it online.
Good.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions concerning the codification? Okay, I think we're all set. We can close that public hearing. Moving on to ordinances, resolves, policies, and licenses. I would entertain a motion for the American Legion liquor license renewal.
I make a motion that we renew the American Legion liquor license.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just have a question. We have all the proper documentation from the police department and all the sign offs.
Jeff is aware
of it. Proper, recommendations from all the fire, police, etc.
For that, I only need police.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you want to sign?
Yeah, send them around. We'll sign it.
As we
Yeah.
go?
Please.
Okay, down here in the bottom.
One or all of us?
All,
Oh, okay,
and then I'll notarize it later.
okay.
Well, we can continue while we sign. The Eclipse Cannabis license renewal. Just need a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the license renewal for Eclipse Cannabis.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question of the CEO. Are we in that danger zone of him losing the ability to do this?
It's so where the project is, I guess you're asking for a project update.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Just want to make sure. So essentially what happened was this past fall, I think in November, they poured the foundation walls and they backfilled. Well, as it turns out, I I'm going to try to explain this as simply as I can. When you pour concrete, wherever there's a door, you want to drop the concrete a couple of inches and it keeps going and then it comes back up when there's no door. That way you can set the framing there. Okay. It's called a door drop essentially. Well, I went and I inspected it and it had all the rebar in place and I said, thumbs up. Well, when they poured it, they didn't pour those sections that go up. So essentially they poured it like 6 inches down the entire way, which doesn't work for the framing. So it was a dispute between the concrete company and the business, and they finally have it resolved. It had to go through insurance companies and all of that. So the project was essentially put on hold for about 9 or 10 months. But as I hear now, I just talked to the business owner last week. They are continuing soon. So if you go over there, you'll see some work done where they did take out the wall, at least the front one that was incorrect. And they're going to be recalling for inspection here soon, so I can inspect the rebar again. But we should see that open up hopefully by spring. So they should be ready to go, but it was quite a delay because of that.
Okay.
All those in favor? GA maximums?
I make a motion that we accept the GA maximum as submitted by the state.
Again.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. So I'm just going to give you the last page. You got the. Oh, you're just going to have.
Okay.
There's only one.
Okay.
Needed on that one.
Perfect.
Now, does the planning board need to approve the codification before we do?
You are awesome. So yes, so because we're there, what should happen next is Tarsha will toss it to the planning board and Ryan, and they will do their action on the codification document. And assuming that they approve it, if they don't, oh boy, but assuming that they approve it, then it will come to you guys for approval or not. That sound right?
Yeah, so the portion the planning board is going to be making a motion on is, let's see, chapter 200 zoning and land use. So the planning board, your motion would be to accept chapter 200 zoning and land use as presented. And then the rest of it would be the council. Yeah. Go ahead if you're ready, or if you have any more questions, it's really up to you. But yeah,
Just all of that changes with respect to like timing, so I can be looking at. 6, that's been the same thing from 30 to 45. All of those are falling in alignment with like regulatory requirement.
that's a state statute requirement, or there's another spot in the land use ordinance that says 45, and then this one says 30. There were a couple of those instances also.
In the situations in which it seems like it'd be nice to know like almost which ones were redundant of the document and they changed it, were they more lenient or were like, which one did they go with? It would be nice to know that, like, you know, looking at that one specifically, it's going from 30 amendment has to be done within, it was initially 30 to 45 days.
It's because by state statute, we have to allow 45 days.
Okay, so that's,
Yeah.
so how do we know the difference? Like, it's kind of hard to say,
Yeah,
I know how something we don't know the difference.
yeah. So all the changes here just follow what the statute says, or they will follow, or it's just it's a matter of grammatical corrections. So, you know, in one section it said septic permit, and another section it says subsurface waste disposal permit. Well, the technical term is subsurface waste disposal permit. So they went with that one throughout the whole ordinance.
Yep.
And at the beginning of the document too, you'll see that, I think it's on page, where is it? There's a section in here. It says whenever it says chair, or like some spots it said chairman or chairperson, they just changed it to chair. You see what I mean? Yeah, all of that, yes.
But is there, so these initial few pages kind of call out where there were things that looked awkward or maybe, so where would it tell us if something was completely, you know, maybe it was differing in two areas of the document? Would we see that somewhere called out in these first two pages?
Yours would be, I think around page 5, it starts wherever it says, section 200. That's where your portion would start.
Oh, I guess maybe I'm not asking the question correctly. So I find it hard to believe that within as large of our, the portion of our ordinances are, that there isn't conflicting information.
Sure.
So how would that have been called out if they identified that there was conflicting information within the changes that they've made?
Yeah, it would be whatever the statute says,
Okay, so
Yeah.
they're gonna fall in line with that.
whatever the state statute
And in
says,
the
yeah.
absence of a statute, then what? Just
We didn't have an instance like that,
Okay,
or else the
alright,
planning board would have
that's
seen it.
fine.
I see what you're asking now. The planning board would have seen something like that. Before today, if there was anything substantive that had to be taken on,
Okay,
such as that. Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Discussion. Motion to accept the executive summary.
I'll make a motion to accept that. As listed.
All those in favor?
There we go. Our part's done.
I make a motion that we accept the ordinance codification as modified and written.
Again.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for accepting the minutes for, Oh.
Madam Chair. So. We need you to sign the law.
oh,
And I added the signing lines for you guys. And so we'll just, I assume there's a file that's.
Right here.
Yeah, we'll collect them at the end.
Yeah, I was gonna get up and then I had second thoughts about it.
We'll just get them at the end.
I didn't want to rattle the table.
That's what we just talked about. I know.
If I may, Madam Chair, you brought up the accept the minutes.
yeah,
I have a question about the minutes for September 25th. For the workshop that we had jointly. The planning board, the CEO and whoever that lovely couple were that were here in our audience are not listed as attendees,
That's true.
and they should be. Shouldn't they? Because they were part of our meeting.
I don't know, could be, wouldn't hurt. But it's not an official meeting. It's a workshop. So it's much more informal. As you see, the minutes are very simple. If you want to get me for anything real, I forgot to add Ryan's name to staff present.
And that was the other thing I was gonna say
Ah.
was next. Well, I said CEO, but I clumped them all together.
So you can feel free to do it as amended. It's up to you.
I make a motion that we accept the meetings for the September 25th, 2023 meeting as amended, adding the planning board members, CEO, Mr. Smith, and whoever, Ryan, what was that couple's name that was here? You remember?
Say 2 members of the public.
2 members of the public then?
There you go.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
So that you just did 925 or did you do 9?
No, I'm gonna go back to
Okay.
that one. I make a motion that we accept the meetings from September 5th, 2023 Mechanic Falls Council meeting as written.
Second,
Any discussion?
Well, and I did have one question. Rose Aikman's name is on this and not Ray for the members present.
I was not present at that meeting.
I understand, but Rose Aikman
Uh-uh.
wasn't a member either.
Touche. Touche. So as amended,
as
As
amended,
amended
with her name struck,
with her name struck from the record.
and my second counter to that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Abstained. I wasn't
Good
part of
catch.
it.
How come you just weren't here?
Wasn't Part of that
No.
meeting.
No,
You're not
he
supposed to
wasn't
vote,
here.
you know, you-
You weren't here though? Or you were not part of the
I
council
was
yet?
not part of the
He was-
council yet.
yeah.
The beginning of September?
September, no. I don't
Oh.
think so. I was
Yeah,
not.
you were.
Yes, you were.
You were, Ray.
You've been on here since June.
June.
I don't remember this meeting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you were definitely there.
Seconding something. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think you put, I think they
Yes.
put Rose and they meant to put you.
yeah.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah, it's a
you,
template.
and you seconded my motion to adjourn at
yeah.
Yeah.
8:17.
I was gonna say,
Counselor
yeah.
Lavoy seconded.
I'm entitled to a do-over, okay?
That's,
you-
that's
Okay.
what she meant.
Okay, so
by
do you
the-
want, all those in favor?
Stand corrected, thank you.
We'll just chalk the last 5 minutes up to senior moments.
Gosh. Put my name down.
Okay, department monthly reports. We had some in our packets and then we have some in front of us.
Make a motion to accept the department reports, monthly reports, as submitted.
I second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, we'll open it up for public comments. All we ask is that you state your name and your address when you speak. You have 3 minutes.
Mary Martin, Jordan Road, 219 Jordan Road, and I'm here as a representative to the RSU 16 School Board, a representative from Mechanic Falls, and I just wanted to kind of give you an update since last time I was here. Last time I was here, we talked about the task force, of which Tasha was a member, and since then, this report has come out. It's on the website. But I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the direction that this report gave the RSU 16 school board. Basically, we had talked about before about there being multiple scenarios that we're looking at in terms of dealing with some of the issues that we had identified as ongoing issues for us. And so the 2 scenarios that it's been narrowed down to are that we continue to have our 3 elementary schools is one scenario. The other is it's called a 2 elementary school scenario with reconfiguration, meaning one of our schools would be a pre-K to 2 school. The other one would likely be a 3 to 6 school. So what we've done as a school board since then is identify sort of this document, which has on it what we need to do now, what we need to do next, and then what we need to do later. So I want to talk to a little bit just about the nows. Tasha was part of the task force. So now that the task force is no longer meeting, but we have established a steering committee instead, which is to provide leadership and momentum to the school board as we're trying to make this final decision, which our goal would be to have made that final decision by December so that we can look at the budgetary implications of it. So on that steering committee is our superintendent, our assistant superintendent. I'm on that committee as our board chair and also as a Mechanic Falls rep. And then we have a representative from each of our 3 subcommittees, and we've been meeting weekly. And then some other things that we need to do now is that we've directed our superintendent and our director of operations to get quotes and to review the costs that would be associated with both of those scenarios. Because certainly the cost drivers will be a big part of whatever is decided. And then the other thing we asked is that we make an application to the Department of Education revolving renovation fund in order and make an application for each of our 3 schools. And that is due at the end of October. And it's a combination of a grant and a loan. What it does is whatever your subsidy level is, then it's paid that percentage. And the remainder of it is a local commitment, and it's at a 0% interest. They do have a very specific priority, one of which is ventilation, which is part of what the need in all 3 of those elementary schools. So we are going to make application. We wouldn't have any, wouldn't be committed to it until we see if we qualify but it would certainly help to cut some of the cost of the improvements that we're thinking about. The other things that we're doing is we have 3 subcommittees. There's an operations subcommittee, an educational policy one, and a finance one. So we kind of have 3 things that we need to get done, and we've assigned each one of those committees. We need to figure out what we need to do to really fix our elementary schools. We do have a CIP, but it's what we're asking is that be updated. We do have some updated information that we've gotten recently, so we need that updated and to continue to work on the heating and ventilation issues. Our educational policy, we want them to make sure that we have the staff that we need to support our curriculum in our elementary schools. And then the finance committee will be looking at how do we fund those things. And on each of those committees, Jess Smith and Patrick Irish are on the operations. Andrea is on the educational policy. And Steve and I are both on the finance subcommittee. And then the next thing that we've identified is that we need to do some PR. So developing a public relations plan. We need to think about, make sure that we are taking into consideration where our adult education would go if we look at the 2-school model. And then if we look at that 2-school model, we'll have to look at what's the staffing reductions that might be possible in that, and also look at transportation. So that kind of covers the now and the next. And the other thing I just want to share with you is that there are some community forums coming up. There's on October 19th, there's one in the morning and one in the morning at 8 and one in the evening at 6. And the location, we're not sure yet, but I wrote this down for you so you could take that. And if you don't get the RSU 16 emails, all you need to do is send an email to Amy Hediger and she'll put you on the list, because both she and our superintendent are sending out updates every 2 weeks. So, and Amy Hediger has been really good this summer about getting that out. So I've listed here places you can get information. Anything that I talked to you about tonight is all on our website. So each one of those. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Mary.
Yes.
May we dismiss the poor planning board instead of making them suffer through
Oh.
our meeting if they want to leave?
No.
You can be dismissed if you've done your part. Thank you. Okay, so we
guys
still
like-
are in public comments, though, if there's anybody else.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Powell. I actually live in Norway, but I have a couple of plots in Maple Grove Cemetery. So if you guys will allow me to speak about the Maple Grove Cemetery, that would be great.
Great. That's also on our,
It is,
Later in
yes.
so we'll be having discussion about that. Are we,
Yes. So I invited these ladies to show up tonight to say
okay,
what they wish to say during public comments.
okay,
And I gave them the option of staying or going for the later discussion. Don't know what we're gonna do later.
Okay.
You guys may even want to table it. I don't know, but
okay,
so I figured I'd invite them to speak here.
okay, sure.
Thank you, Vic. So again, my name is Rebecca Powell. I have many family members, including my mom, who passed away 2 years ago at Maple Grove Cemetery. In those 2 years, the condition of the cemetery has gone downhill. I understand it is not a town cemetery. It is through an association. My concern is that it is not the veterans' plots and their stones are not being upkept. And that is through research that is actually a part of the town's liability. So I just wanted to come, let you know who I was. Tim Cody is the current president of the association. That might be changing here soon. Myself and Megan Boyd is we're looking into getting onto the association so that we can do better on the cemetery, because the board is ready to be done. So part of discussion, and I believe Vic is going to be questioning if we can put some type of stipend together to continue or to start getting the vets plots and stones upkept and where they should be. It is a main statute that they are upkept by the town, a portion of it. And so yeah, we're just kind of looking for that. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. Okay, do we have any other comments from the public? Do we have anyone online? Is there anyone online? No? Okay. All right, well, if there's no more public comments, we will move on to council comments.
When I was frantically searching for my FOAA stuff, came across stuff that was done. You can go ahead and pass them down. Back when Ms. Aikman was on the council, but none of us were. And I thought it would be good for us to have and to look at. It was an update that they did to the rules of order and procedure for our council.
Wait, I've been on it the whole time Rose has.
What?
I've been on it the whole time Rose was.
Um,
What was that? What was the?
this was, yeah, you were on it too. You were the vice chair. Keith Bennett was the chair and you were vice chair, but the rest of us weren't. So I
okay.
thought it would be good for the rest of us to see what was done back in 2020, the update. So just a little bit of history and good information for the council to have.
This is the most up-to-date one.
Yes. Oh,
Thank you for that. All right, is there any other council members who'd like to speak? Okay, turn it over to you, Vic, for your town manager report.
Okay. Gonna turn it over to Janice. By the way, Janice, the world's most awesome town clerk.
So it was brought to my attention through a FOIA request that we have maybe been a little remiss, and maybe not, maybe it is that it was done, FOIA training. I don't find any acknowledgements here in the office, so I'm gonna start that. And Sonny is all set because he did his last year. Paula and Ray are due. The only ones that I need are you two. If you've done them, and they're required at the beginning of each elected or appointed term.
Okay.
So
So what?
the FOIA training.
Freedom of access.
Information Act.
Act.
Right,
Yeah, so if you two did them when
the
you
MMA one?
first, yep,
Yeah, I did that.
okay.
I did it online with, what's her name?
Rose?
No.
Oh, no,
No.
Cindy.
Cindy.
so
Cindy and
I,
I did it. We were actually gonna travel down together, but they ended up doing it online.
Yep, but mine was as well.
Did you get a
So-
key? Did you get a copy of your
They didn't
certificate?
actually.
I'll just
They
have
said
you-
they were,
I'll just have you sign one,
Yeah.
and that way I can start going forward. I've got to get the planning board, but they weren't required to do it until just 2021. So I'll just catch up with them.
if it was required, I definitely did it. I don't know where I would find that information, but I can look through it, or would I have gone to it, or
You and I did it
when we first?
before
When
I
we
got
went there.
on, when Kathy Fifield sent us to that class, remember?
Okay, so you just need.
But
a
I couldn't
paper.
find,
I'll
well, I
just-
was told I needed to bring it in, so I brought mine in and gave it to Mr. Mark, because that's what I was told to do, and I was stupid, I didn't keep a copy of it.
I never received a copy.
Yeah, and
It was during COVID. so I'm
we
not-
did when I did mine via Zoom as well, but they emailed a copy to me. So just as a precaution, in case I'm ever asked, the state does not require that we send a copy anywhere. So,
Okay.
no harm, no foul, but going forward, we'll have it there. And that way, anytime a board member changes, we'll just make sure it's done.
We also have to do the FEMA thing, right? The NIMS.
The NIMS
The
training,
training.
yeah, so I've had him on my calendar since you came aboard. Usually EMA, the Androscoggin County Emergency Management folks, they'll do the NIMS training. It's national emergency training. They do it like during November. I think most of us took it.
Yep.
So I haven't seen any information. As soon as I see information, Sonny did it last year, I believe. It's required. It is required training. So you'll have to give up a night at some point and do some training.
They feed you good.
It's all right.
How long were you on before, though? You didn't do it?
No,
I don't think so. was
Okay.
on for like-
I know I definitely did it. Do you need that training
9
information?
months.
I actually think that you must have that, because
because we went with him,
Yeah. Yeah, a bunch of yous went with me when
Yeah.
I first got here.
yeah.
Did a training up in Augusta. So,
Yeah. So anyway, so
EMA.
point being is that we'll be crossing Ts, dotting Is, recording stuff moving forward.
Okay.
We'll be better tomorrow than we are today.
Perfect. No
Okay.
better, do better.
There you go. In terms of a TM update, you'll notice there was not one in your packet because of the chock full agenda.
Mhm.
I will say I have a tremendous amount of storylines going on. I won't bore any of you with it now. You're more than invited to reach out to me, schedule some time to come in one-on-one. I'd be more than happy to share any and all information with you guys. There's a lot going on right now, some of which we're about to dig into.
Okay, town road signs.
So, based on our last meeting, you guys wanted me to go back to the sign store and have them do the welcome Mechanic Falls in both the oval and the square, or I don't know, rectangle. And so that's what I've done. And I don't know if you are ready to decide tonight, or if you just want to mull it over until the next meeting. There's no grand emergency here. But I do, if you are wanting to make a decision, then, you guys can make a motion in terms of cost. I did give you the one sheet that I got from before. I probably would have to verify that the quote
God bless you.
is still accurate,
God bless, oh,
but this calls for 6 signs with accompanying signposts. And my goal would be to, even though I don't have it, the numbers all laid out, because I didn't know what you wanted to do tonight with it. It is my intent to use ARPA dollars. And quite frankly, at this point, we'll have them make up the signs. They'll probably sit through the winter. We can put them out next spring, one by one, as the boys have time to do that.
Okay, so did you figure out where they could go?
So I'm still working on it. First step is to get you guys to approve a design and agree to a proposal.
Okay,
And then my next step is to take whatever design you approve. I have to get the design approved by the state.
state, yeah,
So whatever you approve is still conditional based on what the state tells me.
because the state can say no.
So I got to take this one baby step at a time.
If I may,
Mhm.
what's that supposed to be?
So that there has been since a part of the first way back when design. He just wanted to give you an illustration as to like, honestly, it's not going to look like that, right? It's not going to have the fancy grass and underneath, and all of that. Unless you guys want to go to that sort of expense. And it depends upon where they are actually placed in the end. Suffice it to say, in terms of locations, every day I'm scoping. I was scoping this afternoon coming back from Lewis and Auburn. So I need to get together with Scott, figure out some real locations, present them to the state, get them approved. So again, it's a process.
Okay.
So it all begins with designs, though.
I have a question, like you say 6, but if we don't know where we can put them, we don't really know how many we can put.
Well,
on.
so the if I can remember, so both ends of 26, both ends, if you will, of 121, and one on Route 11 and one on 124 is kind of, if my mental, I wrote this down a long time ago, but I'm pretty sure that that's what I wrote down. If that makes sense to you guys. I mean, we can do some of the secondary roads like North Street and all of that if you really want, but I figured we'd at least attack the major arteries. And there's no sense really doing this end of Route 11 because you're already in the village, right? But to get rid of the old Warren sign on the other end out there by McDonald's and replacing it, and that one would probably go right in that spot. Would be my suggestion. So for tonight, I'm just giving you updated designs
okay.
and just asking for input.
Does anyone want to make a motion on one of them? We have a preference?
I like the square sign myself.
I mean, the
More in
rectangle,
line with what the state designs, rectangular.
Yeah.
Square.
I'm fine with either one, whatever the rest of you have a preference.
I actually looked at both of them. I said I really am pretty indifferent. Both of them look pretty good. So if somebody has a preference, I'm good with that.
Which is cheapest?
I'd have to double check honestly, but I think at this point that quote is for signs that are, what's it say, 24 by 72. And so I think he could accommodate 74 by 22 with either design. Obviously with the oval, it won't be exactly 24 all the way through, right? But
Okay, so what about if we say you can send it to the state and see which one they approve? Is that,
I'm pretty sure the state, based on what I'm seeing, the state would probably approve either one.
oh, okay.
So I don't have a hang up there. And this isn't like the little blue signs that you see that come from the state. This is different.
It's okay if it's different. I just want to hear the preference.
No, I like the oval better, but
There you go.
I mean, it doesn't
How about you, Paula?
matter.
I'm the same way. I'm looking at $2,600 and going, what can we do with that money better? But I know we need to sign things, so.
Well, I mean, the sun will come up tomorrow if we don't have new signs, right? I mean, but the point, my reason for chasing this rabbit, quite frankly, is I see what's out on Route 11
And it's shabby looking.
and it makes me want to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's
that's the
shabby.
truth.
Yeah, I mean, it's 2,600 total. I'm sorry, I don't have the second page with my, is it 2,600 total?
260304.
So that's not each sign. So that's,
And I would use ARPA money for
Yeah.
that.
yeah, see, I had that last month. Yeah. Thank you. Do you need a motion from us?
Well, so, I will need,
You do.
I will need a motion to, for the purchase. It would be helpful if you gave, because if you guys want me to just pick one, I'll pick one. But if you want to, have majority rule in terms of which the oval or the rectangle, certainly it's your
Problem is the
purview.
majority doesn't care.
Yeah, so you can pick,
Okay,
I think,
Yeah.
that everyone's
I have
just
no
like, you
problem.
pick,
with that.
all right.
you get it approved, and we can do a motion.
And we can blame him.
Yeah, and then we'll just blame you if we don't like
It'll be
it.
the TM's fault.
Everybody's like, why didn't you go with the oval?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion that we accept one of these designs that Vic chooses, and
You want to approve the
Forward.
money?
yes, approve the design and the purchase of.
And if the
From
quote,
the ARPA money.
from
if the
us.
quote is different, I'll let you know, but I'm pretty comfortable if you approve the quote based on the size 24 by 72. We'll make it work.
I'll second that motion.
So using ARPA money.
Yep, he said that.
Okay.
I kind of threw that in.
They're
Any-
joint
Help it.
doing it.
We're working together.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you. The story continues.
All right, new business. Trash compactor.
I'm excited about this one.
I know you've been talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
Tell us more.
So, if I may, I'll set the
Yep,
table.
yep.
Okay. As a part of, capital planning, it's very, obvious to me concerning the town of Mechanic Falls, now that we know that we'll have roughly 100 years, give or take, with the landfill over there, to keep the transfer running smooth. I'd like to totally upgrade the compactor, which is ancient. And eventually Norm will need a bulldozer over there, but the bulldozer is going to be more expensive, and I'm going to set that off to the side for today and just deal with the compactor. So it's my understanding you have a very old ancient, had Scott over there the other day with the sales dude from Atlantic and Norm. And we're all standing around and Scott says, this has been here before me. And Scott says, I've been around about 29 years. And so it's ancient. It's my understanding through Norm that it was gone through tooth and nail several years ago at this point. But the town would be well served with a brand new compactor that you don't have to worry about for the next 20 plus years. And what I'd like to do is I had this company, Atlantic Recycling. By the way, you should know Atlantic Recycling does most of the transfer stations up and down 26, from Bethel, Woodstock, all the way down to Poland and south. And so this is the company for our area. As a matter of fact, I reached out to Matt Garside and he gave me contact information, and we all got together at the transfer station. They reviewed everything that we have. So this isn't just somebody sitting in a sales office making a quote. The guy came out, he's very good. They'll take care of us from soup to nuts. We do have to do some electric, but this is a full quote. Follow?
Oh, I was just wondering, is this going to be like identical to what we have there, or is it going to be? an
Yes,
upgrade?
yes, and just a little bit bigger. They guesstimate what you have there is around a 3.5 cubic foot. This is going to be a 4 cubic foot. But the footprint, if you will, what they're looking to do, with your approval tonight, I'll reach out tomorrow and hopefully by Christmas it's in place. Is that they're gonna, when it's all put together and everything, they'll bring in the new one, set it off to the side, they'll take out the old one. They'll put in the new one, hook up all the electric and everything and get it all compliant. And this will be much better for OSHA compliance and all of that sort of stuff. We'll have eventually a little maintenance program where they'll stop by like they do the others, like once a year and go through every change the oil, blah, 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 and all of that.
And what's the doghouse?
What's that?
I know the kind of doghouse my husband occasionally gets into, but I'm curious what a doghouse on a compactor
So
is.
if you think of it the way that it is right now, there's a roof over the top of the whole thing, right?
Yeah,
So to make it more OSHA compliant, it's my understanding, right now where you have the railings,
Mhm.
all of that will be torn out and the doghouse will take its place. And the doghouse will be kind of like a small building around the compactor with two large doors that open. So you can still access it from either side, okay? Now, this is after one visit. So if I get a couple of details wrong, don't crucify me, okay? But essentially what it does is it makes it more, nobody can get at it. Like right now, if you broke in, you could just get at it. I don't know if you can turn it on and all that, but it's exposed. What this will do is it will make it much more enclosed, okay? And in order to make this new unit work, it needs three-phase power. Well, we don't have three-phase power over there. And in my learning journey, there's something that is called a variable frequency drive, a VFD unit, which converts single phase to three-phase for what you need. And so that will be very helpful. I've already spoken to an electrician who has agreed to be our electrician guy to get this going. He's the same guy I brought in for the LED lights, which is another story, another time. But
aren't we required to do a RIF for a project like that?
No. So someday, probably January, I'll take, because your agenda is going to be kind of busy for the next couple of
Yeah.
months too. What I want to do is I'll give you your purchase policy. Any of you can come in and get a copy of the purchase policy anytime you want. So the purchase policy is a graduating thing. And there are certain conditions where the policy asks for three quotes, okay? There's outs to all of those. For example, these companies aren't just on every corner, right? This is the company that services the area. This is the company that comes highly recommended. We are totally within our purview of using that special out
Okay,
to do what we're doing. Okay.
okay.
And so we can take a look at the purchasing policy, like I said, some softer agenda. And if you guys want to make revisions to it, it's your policy. You
No,
can
I
do
was
that.
just curious because we had for that little roof, we had to put it out to bids.
Yeah,
and it
nothing
seems-
happened.
This,
Yeah.
yeah.
See,
it
and quite
seems bigger,
frankly,
why I
that's
was
part of the
curious.
challenge that I'm finding in the 21st century here is that it isn't like it was decades ago where, you could easily call three people and get three quotes. Hell, you're lucky, like with there's an item that's been on back order for the 22 that I'll talk to you guys later about, but the world isn't as easy as it used to be. And so for me, if I got good people, I'm going to trust good people and I'm going to try to hang with them as best as possible.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure we're not violating our policies or charter or anything. That's all.
Yeah. So, but to answer your question, I'm totally comfortable in my skin that what we're doing, how we're going about it is fine.
Okay.
So this proposal in front of you, for folks out there who don't have it, basically to get the compactor brand new with a warranty, get the variable drive, all the setup. They'll even give us $1,000 for trade-in on the antique. Unless somebody wants it, I'll take the $1,000. And so the total tag is 34,965.
Now, could this be used as an excuse to get three-phase power down part of Route 26?
Not before Christmas.
Uh,
So, and I would advocate using ARPA dollars for this. I'm excited for this for the town, and I hope you approve it.
Now, what would this service contract be?
So I have it on my desk. I didn't present it tonight because the first year is under warranty and will be all set. I don't think I brought it out.
I'm sorry, I'm such a pain in your patoot all the
No,
time.
it's right around like $900, 700, $900 a year. And what they'll do is they'll put us, because they do, again, they do everybody. So he even said, the day that we're out here doing everybody else, we'll put you on the calendar and we'll do you too.
And what do they do? Come out and do maintenance or upkeep? or
Yeah,
something?
just standard maintenance stuff, change the oil, do this, do that. You know, I'm not gonna fool you. I'm not gonna tell you exactly what they're gonna do. The
Do we
dude
pay
would.
somebody to do the one now?
What's that?
Do we pay somebody to do the one we have now?
No,
I mean, and
to
maintain
the
it?
best of my knowledge, there's nothing that's,
We get a prayer.
we're just living on a thing. And that's how Norm and I began these discussions. I said, Norm, what happens if this thing dies? He says, well, we'll start piling trash. And I go, we got to have a better solution than that. You know, so instead of waiting for what we have to die, this is a perfect opportunity to use ARPA money to set the town up for the next 20 plus years.
Question.
Sure.
So if we go ahead and we get this unit up and running, are they going to be installing it in the same exact place?
That's yes, he totally believes they disconnect everything. They haul what's there out. This will slide right into the place. And, I need Scott and Norman, the boys, to remove a couple of the plank boards that's a part of the flooring right there by the compactor, so they can get down in there. And other than that, and heck, the guy said he would even help doing that, you know. Honestly, you know, maybe I'm being fooled, but I really think that the guy that showed up, he knows his stuff, and you got to trust somebody. And I think we'll be in good hands.
Do we have to have a special like housing unit for the variable frequency drive thing?
So that will be wired into the building right there. And this system will have smarter people than me. It will have a something to heat the oil, an oil heater. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
Really cool.
it will have that. And again, this is going to this will be a nice thing. Right.
Will there be a discontinuance of service while they're doing this? How much time is required to
Good question.
transfer?
So they're going to try to do it in one very long day, on a day that we are closed. And we're looking at doing it on a Tuesday. And if that works and they need to come back, we have Wednesday morning before noon. That's the game plan, but we know mice and men, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, it's not their first rodeo. And so I think if we got to tee up the electric will probably come from the regular operational budget, because that expense having the electrician over there. But
People can still come to the transfer station that day and bring their
Well,
trash.
there's got-
Oh, if they're not
they got
open.
Equipment in there and stuff, it would be a liability to have people there.
Yeah, and they're gonna do it on a
But
day it's not opened.
Right, but even if it did go into Wednesday, if the transfer station wasn't open today, it would just.
so if we ran
Not
into,
be open.
yeah, that's it. If we ran into big problems, we wouldn't open that Wednesday. You know, if there was,
Just make sure that the town knows that the
Yeah.
dates might not.
Yeah.
be the dates
Yeah.
that we're
All
getting
you can
close.
do.
Okay, I just,
You have to
yeah,
post it on the website,
yes.
yeah, so,
potential.
and
Description of
and they'll
service.
work with us hand in glove to tee this thing up. And as a matter of fact, everything will be built. They're a New Hampshire company. He said everything will be built. We'll bring it out. And he said, honestly, we just slide it out, we put it in, hook it up. But he said it's going to be a long day. Plus, he's got to train Norm and the guys on how to operate it. And that may be, if depending on how everything really goes. And we're talking probably December, because he's got some lead time. I call him tomorrow, he orders, it's going to be whatever it is, 6 to 8 weeks. And then he's got to do his thing to it and then bring it over. So I'm thinking sometime in December, hopefully before Christmas.
So potentially we could have the Public Works Department backing us up. with
Yes.
this Particular project.
Yeah, that's why I had Scott.
Scott's all on board.
Yeah,
with
that's
that,
why-
in
yeah.
case We need to.
Yeah.
Modify.
Yeah. But honestly,
ADA
this package
accesses.
includes them taking care of it soup to nuts.
Okay.
But Scott will be there to protect our interests.
Well, and that was gonna be my next question. This thing will be ADA accessible and certified.
Accessible and certified.
ADA.
ADA.
Oh,
American
yeah. In terms of being able to access it like you can now. Yeah, it's just going to be different. I mean, you'll still be able to access it from both sides. It will still be open, if you will. It's just going to be the railing, and the openness with the railing is going to be closed. That's your doghouse. Don't ask for me to draw you a picture.
I don't want to. It might be scary.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Make a motion that we accept the proposal as submitted with all the variables that we've discussed at this meeting, with the potential for assistance from the Public Works and the electrician, all on board with getting this all up and running according to proposal
With ARPA dollars.
with ARPA dollars, yes.
Second,
Any discussion? Yes.
Quick discussion, when I installed a new recycling setup in Old Orchard Beach as the Assistant Public Works Director, we ended up spending $175,000 on our unit, which is a little bit bigger than this, but substantially much more money. So I think the pricing on this is exceptional.
Great, good, thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay, road work.
Another story. So road work, I texted Scott today. We've been trying to get a date from Spencer for doing the paving. As you can well imagine, got to give the guy some slack because of the weather. Everybody's behind. And so he's supposed to stop by and see Scott sometime this week. So the reason why I'm bringing this to you and asking for an extra up to $15,000, and that's how I would have you phrase it if you go along with this, up to $15,000 from ARPA money to add to the road work. Two things. Since springtime, it's no secret that fuel prices have increased. A lot of asphalt is based on fuel pricing. And all of these contracts, no matter where you go and everything, they all have what they call an escalator clause in them. Ray's nodding his head. And so I'm anticipating we have 123,000 and change in the line item. The quote that you guys accepted was for 121,000 and change. That's a little tight. I'm thinking between the escalator plus the following. So this includes doing True Street. And one side of True Street, Scott said, long after I had you guys approve everything, he says, they're going to be there. At the other side of True Street really, 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 really needs to be done. Why don't we just do it? And I said, all right. I went out on a limb. I said, do it It makes sense. So Scott and the boys have teed up that end of True Street to get ready for paving whenever Spencer comes and paves. So the up to 15,000 is covering the little overage of the estimated asphalt tonnage and the escalator. Scott and I don't think that we will use the full 15,000, but in the world of you never know, I don't want to ask for 6 and then have it be 9 and have to come back to you guys again. So I would have you approve up to $15,000.
And when will you know? When
Well,
Spencer,
yeah,
when Spencer
yeah,
tells you they're coming?
I'll know more once we get a date for paving and hopefully depends on who talks to Spencer, either probably Scott or myself, we get a better idea of the escalator. If you remember last year when we did the Walker Road, I came back to you for an extra 6,000, I think it was, because of escalator. And so, yeah, so that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Did Scott do a rough estimate calculation of tonnage to do that?
If he did not share that information with me. So I don't know. He and I, based on what he said to me, he doesn't think that will touch the 15, but this is safe. And if we only use 7, then we only use 7, right? And so we can use the rest. So I would have you make the motion if you choose to have it be up to, and we'll know one way or the other here in a couple months, a month or so, really. Because, well, a couple months, because usually the asphalt plants close in November. Yeah.
And to be exact, is this a grind overlay or is this just an overlay?
So the boys have been over there digging up, I guess it had kind of a bad gravel bed. And so they dug up the bad gravel, they replaced it with good gravel. And so they're teeing it up for paving. So there's no yes or no, it's really both, so we got rid of the bad, they teed it up for Spencer to do the paving. And they're right there. And if you've seen it, I mean, honestly, I went over it, I don't know, 100 yards. I don't know. It's from one of the apex of the turns to Elm Street. So it's dug up so you can drive by it and see it, but
It's a school, it's a side on the school, I think. Yeah. If I remember right.
I'm sorry.
I think it's on the school end. It's
Yeah. No, it's on the actually the
Actual
far.
far
I
end.
don't
Yeah,
know,
it's-
I'm
yeah.
half asleep.
Yeah, it's on the farther end. So that's my story.
That's a reasonable cost.
Well, do we have a motion?
Dealt with a lot of asphalt paving.
Now you making a motion, right?
I make a motion that we accept the $15,000 as requested with using the ARPA funds up to $15,000 for the considerable work to be done on True Street.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay. The Portland Pump Fuel Island Terminal proposal.
This one is fun. So you guys, as a part of ARPA from last year, approved $43,500 for state mandated fuel storage. Where the story improved over time, where our license is up next August from the state of Maine. And so either, when I first got here, either it was dig it all up and put in new, or think about above ground. And since then, the state has come back with a couple of options. The gentleman, Dylan, who does from Petroleum Maintenance Services, comes out and takes care of the storage thing, tests it, annually state mandated stuff. Dylan is my guy. Set all of that aside. Our game plan with Dylan is about to start next spring. So, 2 months ago, Lisa comes to me and says, the printer's not working. So as a part of that fuel storage, we have the fuel pump, which the town uses for gas, for PD, for Scott and the boys, for this, that, and the other. And as a part of tracking who is doing what, we have a key system. We have a fuel pump key system. So Lisa can know who is using how much and all of that. Well, this is going to be a common theme over these next several months. This antiquated system, you've heard me use that term earlier tonight. This antiquated system is tied to a dot matrix printer that prints out the information, the data for Lisa to take and to divvy out who does what and all that good stuff. The dot matrix printer died. We used a bigger hammer on it and got it working for a few more weeks, and it's died again. And I priced out a replacement for a dot matrix printer. Yes, you can still find them.
Really?
Not plentiful, but you can find them. You can find a Nokia Data for over $600. So the town is faced with the problem that says A or B. We can get a $600 dot matrix printer, which will probably bite us a little bit more time with this antiquated system. Or we can say thank you to ARPA dollars one more time and upgrade the entire system to the 21st century as such, with some sort of internet thing that will go directly to Lisa's computer, not needing a printer at all,
How much?
unless she chooses.
$518.
So this include, this is more than just a printer. This is upgrading the entire system. And if you don't upgrade it, how long does it last? Who the heck knows? So this, I didn't call, actually. I sent an email off to my guy, Dylan, who's going to be doing the storage tank stuff, and asked him his opinion. He says, Portland Pump's a good company. We work with them all the time. He says because I sent him the quote, he reviewed the quote and everything. He says, that sounds about right. And he says, I would recommend them. And so this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you guys to either say, get a dot matrix printer and pray, or upgrade the entire system, especially where we're doing the fuel tank storage anyways, and get this brought all into the 21st century again.
That's
Hopefully,
not part of the fuel tank storage stuff we're
No.
doing?
no, the fuel tank storage is storage. This is use. Okay. So it's two different, they're connected in a way, but it's two different worlds.
Basically, this just keeps track of who's using what fuel and how much.
Would the keeping track system be able to work with the new tanks?
Would the keeping track system be able to work with a new?
Tanks?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
Yeah.
tanks.
Yeah. So
Tanks are just holding.
So
Okay.
the dude says that all they need is an IP address, and all the information goes from the box that's tied to this fuel system to Lisa's computer. Because right now everything is in Public Works. So in order to get the data, she goes down to Public Works. I mean, it's no big deal, right? But yeah. And so this, I said, well, if we're going to take a look at upgrading the whole system, it's the 21st century. A, we don't need a dot matrix printer. B, why doesn't it just come to your computer? So this,
So ARPA dollars were meant to do,
so the ARPA dollars in review. So the long, long journey with ARPA. reduced to a long bumper sticker, goes like this. In the end, wise people at the federal level, thank goodness, came up for municipalities to take a standard $10 million revenue loss. Because of COVID, they figured because of shutting down and everything, that there were probably revenue losses to municipalities. And again, they're dealing with everybody across the country, cities, towns like us, they're dealing with everybody. And so if you wanted to, as a town, and we did, accept the $10 million general revenue loss, it basically gives us the 300,000+ that we got from ARPA. It allows us to use on any normal expenditure that we might come across. Capital. The thing is, we can't tuck it away. We can't say, okay, let's take $100,000 and put it on a fire
We
truck.
gotta use it.
We
or
might
use it.
buy 5 years from now. So you have to put it into play. And so any town expense really comes into play as general revenue loss under this category. If you're not doing it, then they do have a whole cart full of specific things which are much more cumbersome and hard. But somebody at the last second did something brilliant and said, we'll just create a $10 million revenue loss bucket. And most municipalities are in that, except for the big cities that
We fit in that then.
got way more than $10 million. And so what I have tried to do, as I've said very often to you, is to use those dollars in one-off situations. And I think we've done very good about doing it in one-off situations, like the storage thing out there, some of the stuff that you guys approved tonight, and a host of other things you've already approved over the ages. And I came to you a few months ago because the Republicans in the House started getting a little itchy and saying, we may try to scoff back some of this ARPA money that hasn't been spent. Now, the feds did something with ARPA that they rarely ever do. Usually, especially when it comes to grants and stuff, you have to apply through all the hoops and jump through everything. And then maybe you're selected and maybe you get the money somewhere through the process, right? With ARPA, they gave all the municipalities the monies up front. We qualified for 300,000+. And so they sent us the money and it's been sitting in a checking account dedicated that line item for ARPA to use, okay? And ARPA dollars can only be used with your vote. And every April, we have to do a report. And as I was saying, so some of the House members were getting a little itchy and trying to scoff this back. And so that's why I came to you the other month and I said, my game plan is to use all the money by the end of 2024. Current rules state that you need to have all of your monies allocated by the end of 2024 and spent by the end of 2026, because government, everything takes way longer than it should. And it just so happens, I mean, I got one today I'm not even bringing to you yet, but because I don't know, I don't know, but
How much do we have at this point?
so that's why I did this
The rate
one
we're
sheet
going,
for you.
We're gonna have it done by 2023.
Yeah, so if this keeps going, yeah, and so I didn't even put the signs on there because I didn't know what you guys were going to say tonight. So from that bottom line, assuming you approve everything, you can minus $2,600 off of
We
that.
have
So
just under 20,000.
yeah, but that 43,500 for the storage, fuel storage thing won't be totally spent until between now and August, because we need to have it
Right, but
solved
it's been
by
committed.
August of 24.
But it's been committed, which is.
But
what
it's
we
been
need to do.
committed, right? It's been allocated, right? Yes.
So it was meant for these sort of purchases.
Sure, or anything, I mean, we used it for streetlights, right? Which was huge. That was 60-something thousand dollars. That the town would have had to come up with in order to do the streetlight project. And we went from streetlight bills of around $1,700 or higher down to less than $200 recently a month. That was smart spending. you know? And so that's what I've tried to do. And with these things that I'm bringing to you now, like the compactor and even this, really, it solves a problem for the next 20 years.
Well,
And
it's gonna save Lisa time as well.
what's that?
It's gonna save Lisa. time.
Lisa
It's
time.
Yes, it-
going to Come
yes.
into a system where
Yeah.
she's not gonna have to go look at it. It's
Yeah.
gonna be there. It's gonna be
Yeah.
more compact. And that's very helpful. Okay, well. We have a motion?
Is he gonna hold this price? Because it says, offering is subject to adjustment at time of shipping.
Yeah, so again, as I stated, I got it just this week, September 29th. So yeah, I mean, that's standard language, right? So assuming you guys say yes, I'm gonna try to reach out tomorrow and get the ball rolling. And if the money is at all different, if I find out, then I'll let you know. I mean, that's all I can do, right? But where this is a proposal
Says
dated
price is
September
good for 20
29th,
days.
what's that?
Price is good for 20 days.
There you go.
You say,
It's
we
more
have-
if you wait. It's more if you wait that the price could go up.
and we have the money in an escrow account at this point.
Yeah, well, it's again, using
Then
ARPA
come up
money
with a
based on
deposit.
that sheet that I gave you.
Come up with a deposit on the contract.
Yeah, so I'd have Lisa cut a check for that. And the bay door, the bay door project is now done. Lisa is cutting the final check this Thursday and I'm signing it and mailing that out. So I think we've done good things with it.
Great. We're
You
gonna
wanna do a
bring it.
motion?
I'd like to make a motion and we accept the estimate for Portland Pump Company to revise the,
Replace.
yeah.
Fuel,
the
yep,
fuel
Fuel
pumping
Island
Station
Fuel
for
control system.
$21,518
using,
using ARPA dollars.
Second,
Second,
Ray seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
thank you.
Okay, so tell us about the pellet silo and boiler.
So first I have to thank Ray. Ray knows people, okay? And
you,
so based on our last conversation about the silo out back here,
Mhm. That we don't need it, right? The
we don't
need
need
it.
it. And in order to repair the chimney, it would cost the town several $1,000s less if the silo wasn't there. So the chimney repair company didn't have to rent a lift.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and do workarounds, right?
Mhm.
So using that criteria, I brought that information to you and you guys suggested putting it out on Marketplace. Well, the next day I heard from Ray and Ray had a couple of people that he thought might be interested. So in the interim, we've shown it. We've got one offer. The offer is as is, which includes the pellets and all of that. They take away, they cart off, okay? And I've asked Scott, regardless if it's this or whenever we do this, to protect the town's interest. You know, we're just not going to let some Johnny Smith out there and just tear apart the building, right? So, so the bid, if you will, the offer, I should say, is $2,000. So $2,000, this guy will take it lock, stock and barrel and move it. And that is your understanding as well, right? Right?
yes.
And so, and then how much is it to fix the chimney?
I'm sorry.
How much is it to fix the chimney?
So the quote I got was for $9,200 from Jay Verrill. And in following up with him, he said that about 4,000 of that was for several days of running a lift. So we get
So we
rid of
could take
that.
4,000
So
off.
we can get a
and-
new, we can get a new quote.
So I told Ray that I'd at least give him a new, at this point, getting it all repaired is probably a spring project at this point, but I told him I'd give him another shot. And Ray said that he might know somebody who
Got
might
another
want to put his
gentleman.
hands in the cookie jar.
Do it.
But I do feel like Jay came out to give us the quote. I owe him an opportunity,
Mhm.
right?
Okay, so do you need us to
I
approve
make
this?
a motion that we accept the offer of $2,000 to cart that away and we put the $2,000 towards the repair of the chimney. Part of what it will go towards the chimney and to reduce the cost of repairing the chimney. How's that? You can write it better than that. I knew you had my back.
I second that.
Any discussion?
I have a question. The funds that are generated from that, do they necessarily have to go towards the chimney repair?
Nope.
Well, normally
does
what
it
we,
go into
would
general
so because
fund?
he hooked it to that, right? So normally it would just go as a receipt. Like if, like any other revenue source, and would just go into the undesignated fund balance in the bottom line, the savings
So it'd
account.
Be earmarked.
So as long as Lisa doesn't give me an evil eye, and I don't think she can, it's a little extra step for her, but I think she can
She can come talk to me.
easily designate that.
I mean,
Is it-
do we have it in the budget somewhere to fix the chimney, or is that just under the
come on.
general?
No, well, no, not in the operational budget. So, and I'm really sensing maybe January, we do the personnel policy, we get a little deeper. I can show you some of the world. So we have there's a line item for reserves called a complex.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's what I
so
was-
it's a complex reserve,
Okay.
right? So all things being equal, if I didn't have any other resources,
that's
that
ridiculous.
chimney repair would come from, it'd be fixing up this building,
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
And that's where I would organically pull it from,
okay.
because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I was going with that, was going into the complex repair.
Yeah, yeah. So half one does the other or
Right,
whatever.
okay. Just want to make sure that it's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
pretty specific with my motion.
Yeah, you were.
If you want to strike it down, that's fine, but that's the way I
Well,
want to keep my motion.
We had a second and we've discussed it. So all those in favor?
Thank you.
All right, tax abatements.
Tax abatement. So in your packet, and you might need, I've been thinking about this, you might need two motions on this. You've got two abatement sheets. One is a denial and one is an acceptance of an abatement. So I think in order for legal schmiegel, I would have you think of this as two different motions, and I turn it over to you.
I make a motion that we do a tax abatement to Rena Berry and Charles Crabtree for 31 Buckman Street in Mechanic Falls for the amount of $129.36.
I second that.
Hold on just a sec. It's a granted an abatement of $392.
Oh, I'm sorry, $392.
Oh. The total tax.
For the total
Right.
tax
Yes.
rebate, yeah, and yeah,
It was 521. They took 129 off.
yeah.
All right. So I second that. Is there any discussion?
I was just curious how they came up with, it's worth $28,000 less. I know it says down here size was corrected and value adjusted to reflect the lack of clear access.
It's landlocked.
Is it
Oh.
landlocked?
I'm getting that impression. Is it landlocked?
So I have no idea. The only true way to answer that, because O'Donnell's is our third
That's a-
party
that's a big
assessor,
adjustment.
we'd have to have Dennis in here who could give you an answer. But other than that, generally, just know when I bring this stuff to you, I'm trusting that it's been through the system. And I'm trusting that O'Donnell's has done their due diligence and Sarah has added her 2 cents into the equation. And then we bring it to you. Do know that I don't personally know these stories. I'm just It's a,
Well, they don't come in
it's
very
a
often.
perfunctory thing.
And the fact that they have there's a denial next is that there's not just, they don't just
Right,
give them
right, right.
if you ask for it.
Yeah. So this one is $392 for an abatement.
All those in favor?
Thank you.
And then next one.
Or how do I say it?
Motion to accept the denial.
All right, I make a motion, we accept the denial for the abatement for area Martha Yates for map lot 12-34.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
You have to sign one of these and hand it back. To me?
Yeah.
Do you have a specific one?
Yep. Right here. Good catch. You caught me asleep at the wheel. It's both of them.
Oh, while we sign, we can. someone
I
can
make a motion that we accept the Anthem rebate check of $1,021.89.
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
So you get a rebate for insurance? Can you tell me more, please? I want to get one of those.
As insurance holders, did you get a notice?
No, I don't have the town's insurance.
Oh, I did.
So they give us a choice of using it
Oh, yeah.
for future premiums,
Mm.
which because we have the HRA, we will, or doling it out individually to the policyholders. So basically, it's already in the checking account again, because all of this is rear view mirror stuff.
it's just
So
like
it
using
funds-
for the repairs.
So it helps to fund the future.
Oh, you just shared that with me. Just
Did we vote on that?
Yes.
Yeah,
I make a motion that we accept the list of election clerks as presented.
With the following,
With the following.
that we also close the clerk's office on November 7th, election day.
With the following, that we close the clerk's office on November 7th, election day.
Thank you.
Why are we doing that?
because they can't.
So that way Sarah and Janice,
Oh, that's right.
Okay, I second that. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
thank you. That's a yep. Yep, 5-0.
Okay. Did you have something to say about the cemeteries? Did you?
Yeah,
I mean, I
so,
know you told us a little bit of information that it's.
yeah,
but it's
so
not.
I'm gonna give you a choice because we do have 2 executive sessions to do. I'll give you the thumbnail, and if you guys want to have a deeper dive tonight, we can do that. Or I'll give you the thumbnail and answer any surface questions, and then we can put it on the agenda for November. And hold a special meeting. Nothing is so dramatic that it needs to be solved tonight.
Mhm.
But I do think that this is a journey and I do have some updates for you.
Okay.
Okay. So let's begin in the beginning. So, Ms. Russell sent us the letter that you all received. It kind of perked our ears up. Powell,
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Us,
I was trying to figure that one out too, but it's
you know,
been a long
I
day.
apologize.
That's all right. It's been a long night. I just wanted it to
Yeah,
be correct.
thank you. When Rebecca sent us the letter, it perked everybody up. I was away on vacation. I come back and we had discussions about it, some of us individually at the council level. I also reached out to Rebecca and had an initial conversation with her and found out that in the interim of her sending us the letter, she had at least 1, if not 2 meetings with the Association of Maple Grove Cemetery. And so from the town's perspective, I saw this as an opportunity. I saw it as an opportunity not just for Maple Grove, but for the town as a whole. What is the town currently doing? And are we doing our responsibility, or do we need to adapt and do more to make our responsibility whole? So I saw it as a great big discussion. With Janice's help and with Sarah's help, I have a spreadsheet of all the town's cemeteries. Okay. And each of these cemeteries, of course, has its own story, which we are still vetting. As a part of my conversations with Rebecca and Megan, I got that one right. I brought them into the office. They were kind enough. We sat for a good spell, having a good conversation about Maple Grove and touching on the bigger picture as well. As I explained to them, from my purview, I'm looking at this to be ready for 2024 with a better mousetrap. By state statute, which I've included some of that information for you, by state statute, the town where it's responsible needs to make sure it's doing its responsibility between May 1st and September 30 of each year. So we gathered the information on the cemeteries. I had a conversation with them. What they don't know is I did bring in Tim, and I had a discussion with Tim Cody, the current president of the association. And I do think they all have some work to do, how all that shakes out. There is an interesting note in your state statute information, of which I didn't even share with them. I don't know if you guys caught. But if a cemetery was created before 1880, then the municipality has a responsibility to make sure that work is being done. It doesn't mean that the town has to do all the work, but the town is supposed to work with, in this case, there is an association. So as I said to them and to Tim, I'm not ready for game time tonight, but I do think it makes sense for the council and for the town to consider moving forward some sort of modest annual stipend that we give to Maple Grove, and maybe we'll have to add others to the list to be vetted. I don't know. What is the town's responsibility? It comes in a couple of forms. Responsibility number one is for ancient veterans. And we do have some ancient veteran cemeteries, grave sites in the town. Now, if it's a Revolutionary War, and there are a couple of those, I think, that is mired in brush and grown up and really can't get to it, and or it's on real personal property, the town isn't as responsible as if it was in the wide open and easily accessible. Okay. So some of those storylines honestly need to be vetted.
So they're like, there's some gray area. It's not black and white.
Yeah, so there is some gray. So I had one conversation with Scott, like 5 minutes while he and I are both doing 40 other things. I told him I do need to bring him in, sit down with him and go through this to find out what is he doing today? Which ones are we working on this list? Which ones haven't we worked on, if any, and find out the stories. So that's all to come in the future.
Okay.
So as far as Maple Grove is concerned, I believe that there may be some ancient veterans in there. I don't know. Did Sarah's?
I think there is. I think I saw some.
Yeah.
So there's at least veterans. So this is the second category. So there's ancient veterans and veterans. And so we have, because the cemetery, Maple Grove Cemetery, for those who want to know, was formed in the year 1868, before 1880. And because of that, it falls, the town has a fiduciary responsibility. So that's kind of where I am in this. Nothing solid, but the story continues. Based on our last discussion, you had wanted it on the agenda, so it's on the agenda. Don't know if you wish to discuss it further or table it for a future meeting, but there you go.
So you feel like you've gathered some information. You said you pointed over there, they have something to work to be done. And I know, Rebecca, that you had mentioned that someone was getting off the committee or the committee was changing. So,
Talking about Tim.
May I?
yes, please.
Do we know who owns that land? Is it our land?
The Maple Grove,
Yeah.
No,
it's owned by the association.
It's an association.
So so I don't know how the association works. Like when you pay the money for your burial.
Right.
Your
Who
thing
who
is-
gets that
Yeah.
money?
Yeah,
It
so
goes
the
to the-
associate, I don't want to steal Rebecca's
Go ahead.
thunder, so in my discussion with Tim, and I would like some time with you again to tell you about that meeting,
Of course.
okay? I think that hopefully both sides can come together and work in a helpmate situation. They all want the same thing,
Mhm.
okay? That much I can tell you. You all want the same thing. Just how it's been done and how you do it in the future. I think that's where the discussion truly lies. And I do think because it's before 1880, the town has a role in this, straight up.
Okay.
And so instead of us sending Scott and the boys over to take care of that veteran and that down on the other end to take care of that veteran, just to give an annual stipend that stipulates with some language on a piece of paper as to why we're giving this stipend.
Yeah.
It covers the town's responsibility
Right.
in the ongoing care of veteran grave sites at Maple Grove Cemetery.
Okay. Okay.
So just to touch base, when we had a discussion with Tim Cody, which is the president of the association, I have a Facebook page that I created. And we got a group of people together. He came and we had kind of like a informal meeting. He mentioned numerous times in that meeting that if there were other people going to the association meetings, then he would probably be done either last year or this year. And then he also mentioned that the entire board is kind of aging out. I mean, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but they're in the older generation. And they're kind of just being done with it. So my thought and Megan's thought is that if we bring fresh blood in, we can, get the cemetery back to where it was. When we've seen a decrease in care of it.
Okay.
And we just need to get that back to where it's supposed to be.
Okay. So I guess I'm just wondering what the council's position is. I feel like we're more of like approve some funds for it or put it on the budget and make
Yes.
those sort of decisions.
Yeah.
So
Right.
as
It's-
much as,
It's not necessarily the town's responsibility to use tax dollars to upkeep the cemetery.
So in this case, because it's before 1880,
We
Well,
do.
for the veterans. we-
yes.
yes,
So
Yeah.
either.
Right, but not for the whole cemetery.
Right, no, but that's why I say some sort of
Yes.
modest
there's
stipend.
some- if there's
So
And
some,
And I made it, and for me, it's about. It solves two things. It solves our responsibility without literally having to send Scott and the boys over
Right.
and pick the graves. And it shows that the town is willing in the bigger picture to make sure that these are taken care of. Now, I will also say the following. I'm not going to share numbers because I don't want to give out, I think that's going too far tonight. I do, based on what I'm hearing, I do think the association has somewhat of a reasonable nest egg for this, but they're very mindful about not wanting to blow through it because it is perpetual care, right?
okay,
And so, and I think we did get into, the Maple Grove Cemetery, got into an unfortunate circumstance over the last year or two. I'm not here making excuses for anybody,
Okay.
just gathering information. I hope that at the end, that story is a
Mhm.
positive story
Yeah.
with them both working together.
well, that's what I'm hoping is that they can, something can be brought to us that we can actually, approve and that they can do it themselves, they can, I mean, if it takes you being a little bit of a, like, this is our responsibility and this is what we might be willing to do. And then they do their part, you're able to, I don't know, get some new members, fresh blood as you will.
That's our goal. we're
Okay.
just looking for, like Vic had said, is that, kind of yearly stipend to make sure that the veterans, the ancient veterans are being.
I think our stipend would go towards Scott and them taking care of them.
Well, I mean, I think
Right.
it can look, I think it can look a couple different ways. I think that I don't think we need to do the work. I think they need to give us some options. Because you're right, it could be, it could be 1 or 2 days that they go
Could
there.
be.
You know what I mean? Like, there's options. They want to know that we're thinking about it. I don't think we need to do our due diligence and we need to follow the rules that the state provides. And we also need to be mindful of our taxpayers' dollars, that it's not going to something where if there's a nest egg there, then maybe that just needs to be fresh blood, making sure it's spent correctly. And if they have the money, but they use Scott and the boys 1 or 2 days in the
Yeah.
summer, I don't feel like that this is our place to be.
Yeah,
I
putting
don't
this
think it
together.
would take 1 or 2 days in the summer. Well, even that, if there's only a couple of graves down there for them to do what they need to do.
Well, I think we
Like
need
if-
more information as
Right.
well.
No,
We don't
Well-
know. We don't have.
when I say modest, nobody's gonna get rich.
No.
So what I'm saying is that
It'd be 1 or
I'm in
2
the
man
world-
days For the summer.
I'm in the world of budget concepts right now. And so conceptually, don't be shocked if the budgets actually start out that way. And then we'll put it through the machine, put it through the process and see where we come out. Okay?
Do we even know how many vets we have there?
Not a clue.
No, that's why there
lot.
needs to be more information though, because we need to make
Yeah.
sure that we're
Right, we
taking
need to
care
know
of
the
it.
responsibility for veterans versus ancient veterans,
Yes.
Yes.
because it sounds like. there's
Yeah,
different
so the state statutes that I gave you, I think I included in the
Yes.
packet,
Yeah.
pretty much covers a lot of it. There is some more verbiage on other papers, but it pretty much says it. And all of this is obviously accessible online, maine.gov, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
But so for me, it's a journey.
Okay, well,
So,
I guess we'll,
so it was
table
just
it
a
for now,
discussion
yeah.
item. Yeah.
and maybe if you gather more information and make sure that, I mean, I think it's something that you guys can make happen outside of us, and that we can do our due diligence and do what we're supposed to do here. But that sounds like you guys can make it happen. And hopefully if Vic can facilitate some sort of whatever it is that you need to do.
Yeah, I really need to sit down with Scott and
Yeah.
find out what it is we're truly doing year in and year out.
Yeah.
And marry that to this information.
I know Minot, I don't know if they're owned by Minot, but Minot has a cemetery committee. So
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe
Oh.
it's something to reach out to one of them.
Yes, perfect. And that was a thought that I had is
Yes.
maybe
I
it's
know that.
hard in the 21st century, but maybe some sort of small cemetery committee
Yeah.
might be a thing. Might be a good thing.
community. Right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay?
so, yeah, I guess we.
You want me to make a motion going executive
Yes, please.
session? I make a motion that we go into executive session under 1 MRSA 4056C Economic Development and 1 MRSA 4056A Personnel Matters.
There will be no voting when we come out, correct?
Yeah, no
There's no-
voting.
no voting,
So
so-
this is all informational. So
Okay,
have a good night, folks.
so we will adjourn immediately after. Okay, I second that. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Okay.
While the dust clears, I'm gonna